Hey, what's going on guys? Joe here from JPRC again. Now welcome back. This is the first episode of the SCX10 II build series video, and so far today I have completed just the front and rear axle. But with just the front and rear axle completed, I have noticed that there has been a lot of thoughts and innovations went into these axles, so I want to cover those in this short video here. Now what you're looking in here is the front axle and the rear axle that has been completed. Just so you know, these green diff cover here are going to be painted in the monster green later, so that's why I didn't put any of the grease inside the diff cover yet. And in the first part that I completed here, I covered up from page 1 to 13 on the manual here, and that basically covers all of the installation for these axles here. Now the parts that were used were everything from basically in part A here, except for last two bearing. Everything was used up in there, as well as the bottle of grease that I did not open yet, because I will paint up the diff cover first and then I'll come back to it and then apply the grease inside. And also it used some of the plastic bits from the plastic bag one right there. Now, so onto the axle itself. The first thing that I want to talk about here is some of the most obvious change that has been noticed here. If you look at the axle right here, right, we keep repeatedly talk about how the locker has been reduced to a very small size compared to previously. Now here's the front diff lock here that I have took apart on the video here, but what you're looking here, the single piece locker, it's very tiny. They have significantly reduced the size, the overall diameter of the whole diff. Now one thing that initially I thought it was gonna be a problem because the axle input now has been reduced in terms of material, a lot less material here. But one of the coolest innovations that I found in here, if you look at the bearing that goes over it, actually acts as a reinforcement, and that is quite clever on Axial's part, because then they were able to reduce weight, reinforce axle input with the bearing. That's pretty clever. Thumbs up on that, Axial. Now the second thing on it here, if you notice the front axle here, if you look at the axle right here flat on the bench right here, so you can see the diff housing is actually sitting a little bit higher than not even touching the ground. It is actually the steering knuckles that touches the bench first. So as far as ground clearance goes, that's almost flush on the bottom of the chassis in the middle there, and that's very good. Now the second thing on here, if you see the steering knuckle here, they have a little bit of camber built into it, right around about 10 to 15 degrees of camber, but then the axle actually stretches solidly flat from left and right. So that means you actually don't get any camber, but as far as steering goes, it's gonna allow grab a lot more better during cornering. So that's pretty clever there. And then second thing to that is something that has always been asked by the Axial community here, is to have double tap on the steering knuckle, and they actually put it in there. Very good, right out of the box. And then the second detail I noticed on these steering knuckles here are pretty cool. Most of the kits that I built, they do not have an easy way of telling you, whether or not which knuckle is the left or right, and they designate that with the number here so that you can see and there's no mistake to be built when you're building this kit together to make it a lot easier for you. Alright, so the third innovation that I found in here was really cool, in addition to the spiral cut gear, is the bevel gear bearing inside. So they use two different bearing sizes in here. The internal bevel gear bearing, it's much bigger in size in terms of the overall diameter, as well as the bearing size, the ball size inside there. It actually measures 5 by 14 by 5, whereas the outside is measured by 5 by 11 by 4. So that it's gonna help increase the durability of these bearings, because previously in the first gen or even the Axial Yeti or in the Bomber, they have the same exact size bearing inside and out, and a lot of folks are running out there hard, and they usually break those bearings, and that they have reinforced that bevel gear with a bigger bearing. That's a pretty clever thought right there. Lastly, the thing I want to talk about here is the diff gear installation into the housing. Previously you have to mind the direction the diff gear and the bevel gear faces, so that you don't have your front and rear wheels kind of spinning in different direction. In this latest version of the housing, your diff gear only goes in one way. You cannot make a mistake to have your gearing direction messed up. So that's gonna do it for me on this video, and I will leave you to the actual build video of these housings in the next 5 minutes. So as always, thumbs up and subscribe. Enjoy the video. I'll see you next time.